Hi, welcome to America's Got Talent, right? I'm Howard Stern. I got Heidi Klum to my right,
Right.
Howie Mandel, and Scary Spice.
Nice.
Right?
Hello.
That would be perfect. Your nickname is Scary, right?
It
like
is
that.
scary.
Perfect.
Yep.
Now, welcome to another episode of this month at the Fall River Career Center, show where we talk about everything that's going on in all three of our career centers, including Fall River, Taunton, and Attleboro. We got a lot of great events coming up. We got a lot of great jobs posted. And today's show, we really got a special show because we're really going to dedicate it towards veterans and veteran services. And fortunately for us, we got some really great veterans reps that work for us in our career centers. And I'm going to introduce them. Immediately to my right, I have Shelah Haugh. She's been with the Taunton Career Center for about 2 years now, right,
Yep,
Shelah?
about that.
About 2 years. So she's absolutely 100% a go-getter. She works with veterans. She cares very much about veterans, as so does Mr. Raymondo, who is recent employee of the Fall River Career Center. You've been there for about 6 months?
About 6 months, that's right.
6 months with the Fall River Career Center. And Wayne's really in tune with all the programs, with all the services to veterans, so he can be very helpful, not only in terms of getting veterans jobs, but also making sure that they get the services that they need in terms of referrals, right? So thanks for being here, Wayne. I really appreciate it. And of course, we have Kim Frank, who is, we joke a lot, but Kim really is the pulse of our agency. She's out in the field. She's working hard with employers, and ultimately it all comes down to employers. They get the jobs, and Kim is out there in Bristol County, and sometimes even out of Bristol County into Rhode Island, recruiting for these types of jobs. And I know when she does go out to employers, a lot of them are looking for veterans, and there's a reason for that because of the structure and the discipline. So we enjoy having you here, Kim.
Well, thank you for having me,
All
even
right.
if I am scary.
So I'm Alberto. I'm the host of the show. I want to start with Kim today. Kim, if you want to just talk a little bit about some of the recruitments that are going on in the Career Center and some of the jobs, and then we'll tackle some of the veterans programs.
Sure. So because I'm a regional representative for the career centers, I do work out of the Attleboro, Taunton, and Fall River offices, and we're going to be dealing with some pretty decent recruitments. Chili's restaurant from Somerset, they're looking to fill all positions, so even if you do not have experience, they're willing to train the right candidates. So we will have a recruitment in Fall River on August 11th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We ask that you do have a resume and that you come dressed for an interview, because each and every candidate that walks through those doors have to assume that they may be hired on the spot, or maybe told right then and there that you're coming in for a second interview. So you should always be prepared, for the hiring process, because you don't know what to expect from the employers.
Absolutely.
CLP Resources recruitment, August 5th at the Taunton Career Center from 9 to 12. They're also going to be looking for some real good positions. Carpenters, assistants, journeymen electricians, general laborers, framers, and carpenters. So if you have those skill sets or may know someone who may have those skill sets, please refer them to the recruitment in Taunton. And we also have quite a few open positions with Scott's Lawn Care. They're going to be looking to hire at least 15 people to do some aerating and landscaping. That will be taking place on August 6th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Taunton Career Center as well, Eric.
And Kim, even after these recruitments, if somebody can't make the recruitment, these jobs are open right now. They should contact the Career Center. Ask for anybody down at the Career Center, but you can also ask for Kim at any time. And I just want to remind people that this is not just for veterans. I mean, these jobs are open to the general public as well. There is priority of service given to veterans that we're going to talk to Shelah and Wayne about, but anybody interested in the jobs that Kim just spoke about, you should first pre-register for the event. It's important that we have an idea that you're going to come to the recruitment just for communication reasons. Sometimes employers maybe have to cancel or reschedule. We want to make sure we communicate that with the general public. I understand people are on benefits right now, and to waste gas money and go down to a career center and all of a sudden an employer is not there is not good. So we ask you to pre-register so we can just keep that communication line open. But
absolutely.
Thanks,
and
Kim.
the main number for the Career Center in Fall River is 508-730-5000, and you can ask for any of the business service team or any Career Center staff member, and they'd be able to register them.
Great. Thanks, Kim. And I'll get back to you a little bit later. We're going to talk about first impressions again and how you provide a service to veterans in that way.
Okay. Thanks, Eric.
So I'd like to start with Shelah. Shelah works with me in Taunton, and she's been, like I said, with us for a couple of years.
Yep.
Shelah is an excellent employee. And Shelah, the first thing I want to ask you is, if I just get out of the service,
Right.
okay, I've been in the military. Not sure, what was your job in the Army? Let's say that.
I had a very fun, interesting MOS, they call it. I was a tank turret mechanic / it was initially a weapons specialist, and then I got, transitioned into the tanks.
Okay.
So it's really hard to find work as a tank mechanic around here.
Right, that's what I was going to ask. I said, so I'm a,
Right.
a weapons specialist.
Right.
Now I come into civilian life. Talk a little bit about that transition for you.
I have to say that personally, it was really difficult for me initially because being in the service, everything's so structured, and you feel as though, well, I felt, I can't speak for everybody, but I felt as though it was just limited to what I was going to do. There's a lot of veterans that come in, especially people that are in like artillery or the grunts, they call it, and they say, well, all I know how to do is shoot a gun and blow stuff up, and that's not necessarily true. But for me, when I got out, I was just automatically pushed into police or correctional officer.
You're kind of pigeonholed into those fields because
exactly.
of your background.
Everybody says, well, and I'm a disabled vet myself, so you get, I believe it's like 30-point preference, and it is a pretty decent paying job. And so I did initially get into that field, and I absolutely hated it. I did it for 3 years, and I actually went into the Plymouth Career Center at this time, and I took the Career Center
career assessment tool.
Exactly. And that just pinpointed my skills and my interests that I didn't even realize at the time, because I was just overwhelmed and trying to just, fit the mold and get the bills paid and whatnot. So it turns out social work was more my thing. And I did change my major when I was in school. So I had the criminal justice degree for my associates, and then went to Bridgewater for social work, and I loved it. I ended up working at the Plymouth Career Center with veterans, and it just took off from there, and I just really couldn't be more happy.
So that's good to know. I mean, it's really interesting because you were categorized
automatically
to be any type of security or police officer.
That's all they've told me.
You're saying this career assessment tool at the Plymouth Career Center, which we have 32 one-stop career centers in Massachusetts. Anybody can use any one of them, but this tool kind of opened up the doors and opened up your eyes to say, well, maybe I'm good here. I'm not just going to be pigeonholed to one specific, and that helped you.
It did.
So do we have that available at the Taunton Career Center?
Yes, we do.
We do.
We definitely do.
And I know Torque is something that we offer to people.
Torque is great. I myself use the ONET, which is basically something very similar, but there's just so much available there that it can help you kind of distinguish what it is that you really want to do, not what you're programmed to do.
Right. So ultimately, in terms of ONET, what you're talking about there, it's a government website through the DOL. Ultimately, what it does is you put all your skills, your qualifications, your education, even what you like to do or dislike to do, and it almost kind of puts that into a mathematical formula, and it says, A plus B may equal C, but guess what? It might equal D, E, E, F, G. Did I get the alphabet right there?
You got it.
I was like,
you got it.
going through my mind.
You
So
nailed
it could equal a lot of different things, and that's kind of what happened for you.
Yes.
So that's good to know. I'll get back to you, Shelah. I want to talk to Wayne as well. Now, Wayne, you were in the Air Force, right? Army, National Guard, correct? No, go ahead. You would introduce it. 'Cause I always have to-
I was actually in the Air National Guard.
Air National Guard.
Active duty with the Air National Guard.
Okay.
And that is it's a reserve component of the United States Air Force.
Okay. Okay, great. So how was your transition into civilian life?
Well, my transition was probably a little bit different than Shelah's. I spent 33 years in the military, and born and raised in Fall River. And so the transition was sort of difficult because you don't really know, and I think my advice to people in the military today is to prepare for your transition a year or 18 months before you get out.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody
good to
kind of
know.
knows when you're going to get out, so it's
Right.
important to be prepared ahead of time. Don't wait until you leave to figure out what you want to do.
And when you say be prepared, how would you be prepared? How did you prepare yourself?
So what I did is you have to kind of assess your skills. You know, sort of what Shelah was saying, you can perhaps get stereotyped into a particular career field. My job in the military was security forces. I grew up basically being a security forces guy, and then I became the chief of security forces, and you sort of get comfortable in your comfort zone, I guess, you know, and sometimes it's important to branch out from there. So
Sure.
later in my career, I took this position called Command Chief Master Sergeant. It's the wing command chief. So you're sort of the enlisted advisor, well, you are the enlisted advisor to the commander. And so that opened up a whole new set of opportunities for me in terms of counseling and career development and things like that, because that's what I did in the military.
Sure.
So coming out, this was a perfect fit
Right.
for me because it's what I love doing.
Sure.
I just love helping to coach people in the right direction to where they can go and succeed.
That's interesting because both of you had like these, you know, this background of, you know, security and almost law enforcement, and you both ended up in human services, and you do a great job of it. So you're able to mentor these veterans that come in through the door now, you know, just based on your own experiences, correct? So veterans that come into the Fall River Career Center can ask for Wayne or ask for any of our staff, but they'll let them know about Wayne. Wayne, I know that we have priority of services in the Career Center, and I was wondering if you could just expand on a little bit on what that is exactly, what our priority of services.
Sure. So priority of service essentially gives veterans or eligible spouses head of the line privileges. For example, if there's a waiting list for a particular seminar that we offer, let's say the capacity is 20 people, and we have a waiting list. Well, the veteran is going to go to the top of that waiting list. So if there's a vacancy, that veteran gets put into that seminar first.
Sure, priority.
It doesn't mean that they would bump someone out of the
Right.
class necessarily. So that's probably something that needs to be cleared up. Is that again, it's just head of the line privileges, and you know, it's important that we do that because veterans coming back these days, there's a lot of new challenges that
Absolutely.
that we're facing.
No,
whether it's employment or issues that have come up throughout their career.
Or even, you know, training. Some veterans, you know, come back and they're looking for some additional training. And I know that you're very familiar with the post 9/11 GI Bill. And if you could talk a little bit about that. Now, if I've come in and I'm interested in learning a little bit about the post 9/11 GI Bill, is that something that you deal with as well?
It's not something that I deal directly with, but I do know a little bit about it from my military experience. And I certainly have the tools to point people in the right direction. But the post 9/11 GI Bill is an incredible tool for returning veterans these days. It provides full tuition, fees, book stipend. You get a monthly housing allowance equivalent to the area that you go to school. For example, in the fall, if you went to school in Boston, the monthly housing allowance is about $2,800. And some of the kids that are coming to the Career Center these days, they don't even know about it. They get out and they're not even aware of this awesome benefit. So I've been coaching them in that direction. Rather than jumping into a job right now, take the time and better prepare yourself for a better opportunity in 3 years or 4 years or whatever, how long it takes.
That's great, absolutely. And I know, you know, Shelah and Wayne both talked a little bit about the unknown when veterans come back and they're discharged and they talk about the unknown, and it's scary out there. And there's a lot of significant barriers to employment, like we like to classify, you know, veterans that come through our doors. And some of those significant barriers can be the unknown. Some of it can be training, things that we touched on. But Kim, I know another thing. Unfortunately, there's a homeless situation there for veterans, and I know you work closely with First Impressions. And if you can talk a little bit about what First Impressions does and how we help veterans with that program.
To go back to our prior little discussion, I also want to thank both of you for your service. I think that's very, very important that, you know, the public are aware that these two people have also, you know, fought for us and our freedom. So that's very important to me to acknowledge that. So thank you both.
Yes, thank you.
As far as First Impressions is a workshop that allowed me to work with the Rotarian Club locally, where we were able to gather all kinds of clothing donated from Savers in Fall River. We were able to reach out to some local vendors, Cascade Hair Barber Shop, I guess, on South Main Street. Mike Medeiros was fabulous to work with.
Sure.
We had Fantastic Sam's. We had A Bright Dry Cleaning. So what this allowed us to do was to reach out to these companies and have them, again, donate their product and or their time. So any veteran that, or anybody, anybody in general, I want to say, could come to the workshop at the Fall River Career Center and sit there and actually listen to what it takes to build a proper resume or interview process, to techniques. But it also helped them if they didn't have the proper clothing for the interview, if they couldn't afford a haircut, if they couldn't afford to go out and get makeup, to look appropriate. We had these people actually donate products so that they would actually be able to try on clothing right there at the workshop that we held in April prior to our huge job fair, because we knew that the job fair was coming and we knew that our community really needed some help. But specifically for the veterans, we had several veterans attend the program, and they were able to not only benefit from the workshops, but benefit with clothing that had been dry cleaned, they were pressed, they were clean, they were able to go, we had some certificates made up, gift certificates made up, where those that were in need of some grooming were able to go to either Cascade or Fantastic Sam's and have their hair cut and have their faces clean shaved and learn how to apply makeup. We even had people donate jewelry so that they actually had accessories to match their shoes and so on and so forth, and it was a huge success.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great program. You're doing a great job with it. I mean, it's unfathomable to think that there's a homeless situation with veterans, but those are real issues that are happening in our country.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
fortunately, we do have programs. I know, Shelah, you work closely with some of these homeless programs.
I do.
And if you could just talk a little bit about, if I was homeless, I came in, I was just discharged, I was a homeless veteran.
Right.
I come in. I know you've helped a lot of people in the past. Tell me a little bit about where you would refer me to, how you would help me.
Well, that's great, because I hate to say it, but it is quite common now. And first, I would like to say Father Bill's is amazing. Father Bill's in Mainspring is in Brockton on Spring in Maine, but they also have locations, I believe, Quincy, Plymouth, and I believe there's one more, I'm not exactly certain, but this is wonderful because it's a brand new, the one in Brockton's brand new, and it's basically like a studio apartment. All just very well put together, and they have like the clothing issue. They have a huge closet of donations, so there is attire available for interviews. But what's wonderful is they have a lot of relationships with, say, the town of Brockton, DPW, Pepsi Cola, Frito-Lay. So they actually pick the veterans up at the center and drive them to their work until they're able to get themselves their own transportation or license issues, legal issues. And also they have a little computer room where they can look for job search and whatnot. A lot of them do come into the center for resume prep, and it's just a wonderful program, and it doesn't cost them anything. And also the other big issue is Hudvash Housing is located right there in the facility, so they can eventually get their own housing.
Great.
Fabulous.
It's great.
So, these are the type of referrals that Shelah and Wayne both have at their disposal in the Career Center. Any veterans that are interested in obtaining employment, if you're ready to go, if you're job ready, and we get a lot of those as well, and we have a lot of employers that hopefully take advantage of that, because I want to talk a little bit about tax credits and higher incentive training grants later, but we do get a lot of veterans that are extremely skilled and qualified, but sometimes, Wayne, they might not have a resume or they haven't gone for an interview. Is that something that you offer on a one-on-one basis, or you refer them to workshops?
Actually, both. So we do have workshops, both interviewing and resume preparation. And what I like to do is, rather than just sit and write someone's resume, get them to go to the workshop first, so they understand what's going on the resume. So my goal is to not just give them a piece of paper and have them walk out the door, but understand what's on that, so that when you go to an interview, you can speak intelligently on your qualifications.
Right.
Because as everybody knows, a resume doesn't get you the job; it gets you the interview.
Right, absolutely.
So it's important to know what's on that in what particular order in that. So,
Sure.
so yes. So the short answer to the question, Eric, is yes, we do offer those services.
You
at
do
the
offer
Career
those
Center.
services.
And I do offer the one-on-one as well.
Great, because I know, being a veterans rep, you're part of your job description is to have outreach to employers as well.
Right.
So I know, Wayne, recently you were working with Reinhardt Food Services out of Swansea, and they're very interested in hiring veterans. I think I even hear their ad on a radio. They're looking for veterans. So I know you have an open line of communication with them. Can you talk a little bit about the jobs at Reinhardt? That,
Sure,
positions they're
sure.
looking
So
for?
Sheila and I had the opportunity to meet with the HR folks at Reinhardt, as well as we had a guest from the state to talk about training grants. So it was a great opportunity to not only talk about hiring veterans, but what's in it for me kind of thing for the employer.
Exactly.
There were great benefits to that. But so we met with Reinhardt, and we're actually doing a recruitment at the Career Center in Fall River on August 13th.
Oh, great.
And what they're looking for in the short term is warehouse workers and truck drivers.
Warehouse workers and truck drivers.
That's correct. And they're very eager to hire veterans. They were very excited about the opportunities to sort of cash in on some of these training grants. It's a great incentive. And
Sure.
we try to tell employers that you shouldn't hire a veteran just because they're a veteran, but what they can bring to the table. What's the
Absolutely.
return on investment?
The discipline, the structure,
Right.
the loyalty, it's all part of the package. That
Right.
employers, I know you talk
that's
to employers all
major.
the time, right, Kim? That's what
Absolutely.
they're looking for, and
That's
we're
major.
we're sitting out there like, yeah, we have those people. They're sitting
Absolutely.
in our career center, and I'm glad you brought up the tax grants and tax incentives. What Kim and I are really trying to work on is follow up with these employers after the point of hire.
Absolutely.
And going back out to companies and talking to them about a hiring incentive training grant. Now, a hiring incentive training grant is an automatic $5,000 to the employer if they hire somebody on long-term unemployment, which means over 6 months, or a veteran. It doesn't have to be on long-term unemployment. So there's some certain requirements that you have to go to, but the application is rather easy. You
Right.
go online, you fill it out. There's a couple forms you have to fill out, but I know Kim and I, we've been out to some companies and we talked to them about that, as well as the work opportunity tax credit. Those are different groups, target groups that you can get tax credits for. So working extremely hard with employers
Absolutely.
on those facts as well. Sheila and Wayne, I know that we've done a veterans job fairs in the past. And I know, Sheila, you're working on one right now, and usually we do them in November, but we're looking to do this one a little bit earlier. And one special thing about our veterans job fair is that it's exclusively for veterans. We do it from 2:30 to 6:30 at the Taunton Holiday Inn, and the doors are only open to veterans and their spouses.
Right.
And last year's we had over 150 job seekers. We had over 30 employers extremely interested in hiring these veterans.
Yes.
So what do you got in the works for this veterans job fair, Sheila? What types of employers and location, and what's the time frame?
I believe we're hoping within probably, I would say, let's say early September. And we're going to try to get at least 20 employers from all different positions, from driving positions to, like I said, Johnson & Johnson. They have quite a lot of openings coming
Sure.
up. And that's a wonderful place to work as well. And we're going to have resume prep right there. So
Right on site.
Right on
You'll
site.
have resume prep, and it's
Yes.
something Wayne will be part of as
Yes, of
well.
course.
Doing resume, that's great.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That's great, fantastic. And I neglect to, I'm sorry, I forgot to talk about Erin Campbell, who's our veterans rep in Attleboro. She's actually away on military duty today. I asked her to be on the show, but she is away on military duty. She's in the Attleboro Career Center. She's been with the agency for, I think, over 8 years now. Very informed of all these services as well, cares a lot about veterans and everybody. So we look forward to those, the Veterans Job Fair. So.
Yep.
I don't know. Is there anything else anybody wants to bring up in terms of veterans job fair? I know Kim, you had a phone call. You should have answered it. Could have been an employer.
I
heard it. I heard it buzzing.
That's my employer line.
Don't lose
ringing.
that. We'll put them right on speakerphone, and we'll probably start taking phone calls on the next show, even though it's taped. But
That's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
But did I miss anything, guys? Did I miss anything in terms of veteran services? You're the experts. You the guys that are out there in the field talking with employers and talking with these veterans. Is there anything that I didn't touch on that we didn't touch on that I should be mentioning?
Nothing that you didn't touch on, but I would just encourage veterans to come out to the career centers and see what we have to offer. Sometimes we just don't know what's out there, and Shelah and I had a veterans rep at the career center yesterday. She was from Providence, and she came down to talk about some of the benefits available to returning Iraqi and Afghanistan veterans. It's just some of that stuff we don't even know exists.
Right.
So many programs out there, right?
There really are. There is assistance for everything.
For everything.
Right.
Right.
Right, and it's just a matter of knowing about them.
Knowing about it, and at least knowing where to go. And like I said, I don't know a lot about everything, but I know how to send people in the right direction.
Sure,
and
absolutely.
that's just as important.
That is very important. If somebody comes in, we're a government building, government agency, and I always tell my staff, somebody comes in and they need help, we're going to try to find help. Whether if it's a veteran or if it's a migrant seasonal farm worker or if it's somebody looking for karate lessons, we're going to try to figure out where to point them. We want to point them in the right direction because that's what we're there for. And fortunately for us, we do have access to a lot of these programs and services, and we can refer them in the right direction. Shelah, were you going to finish off with something?
I have one thing to say that's very important. A lot of veterans don't, they aren't aware of. I would suggest that any veteran that just is recently separated to register with the town hall. This is very important for one reason, especially the welcome home bonus, which is $1,000, which a lot of veterans are not even aware of.
Wow.
Yeah, and so they have the welcome home bonus, and there's several other a lot of benefits actually at the town halls, and they should definitely register.
And you guys got great relationships with the town veterans
All of
reps
them.
as well,
Exactly.
and in the Bristol area. So Kim, I don't know if there's anything. I didn't bring up the karate thing for nothing. I know you do lessons in the career center.
I do, but that's after hours. So anytime after 5, if you're interested in karate lessons, please call Eric Alberto at the Taunton Career Center.
Well, that wraps up another show of this month at the Fall River Career Center. I'd like to thank Bristol Community College for giving us this opportunity to talk about our services at all the career centers. Once again, we're in Fall River on 446 North Main Street, in Attleboro on 995 Pine Street, and in Taunton on 72 School Street. Walk-in services, come in, tell them what you need, and we're going to try to get you the services that day. Thanks again, and we'll see you next month. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.